Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope it stayed dry. We had an enormous amount of rain here down in South Florida. Anyway, so the market continues to grind out this correction, and these S&P futures here, they were down last night, and buyers at support still, just willing to to take it in during this correction here to see if this low is going to hold, and we'll see today whether we can get back up to this most immediate area of resistance or whether we go back down. So if today was to close with a red day, I think that would almost guarantee a move down toward this major support level. Of course, we have the whole day to go, so we'll see what happens. On the other hand, a close, the further into this topping tail that formed on Friday, well, that could open up the possibility of getting through this little first resistance and then testing this major resistance area. In any event, we are in a wider, whippy trading range here, chopping to the downside. And, unless you're a very short-term trader, and I think primarily a day trader, as far as the indices go, probably better to avoid them. When you have these overlapping bars like this, even though you can trade them on a smaller time frame intraday, the odds really aren't in your favor. It's just, too whippy, so you may as well just go trade something else. You don't have to trade one instrument. And, that's, someone make the argument for trading stocks versus futures, which, will automatically give you greater leverage, better tax advantages, and so on, without having to, if you don't need the $25,000, to day trade and such. So there are days that maybe you just don't do anything. Of course, you can trade currency futures, rather than the Forex market, the FX market. You can trade 6E for the euro. You can trade, the British pound, and so on. So you've got many other options versus just these, if that's a consideration. So, that's something that some conversations have been going on lately about prop trading, and, getting a leveraged account, which requires taking a license test, Series 57 now, tying up some funds for a year and so on. It's just too much of a hassle. May as well just trade futures and doing it intelligently, and you don't need a big account to do it. All right, so let's look at the NASDAQ here. And it's pretty much the same, just grinding out a correction here. The big down day, rallied up surprisingly as much as it did, another big down day, and it's getting tighter. So, looking at this, and I do not draw these from the point of view of a trend line, because, my teachings, we do not do analysis diagonally up and down, meaning connecting dots and projecting them into the future to find some magical support and resistance level. All you need to do is let's look to the left, see where there's some congestion or a pivot, and that's where your reference points are, not lines by connecting dots along the line and projecting them into the future. So you've got the NASDAQ doing the same thing, chopping up and down. It held the support. I didn't adjust my lines. Held the support here, and now moving up toward resistance. We'll see how far it gets here and what might move the market today. The transports on Friday, they came back from what looked like, going over the edge of the cliff there, down into this price void, this momentum move, and you had a little breakdown failure right here. So we'll see how far that gets. They're really not doing anything here this morning. And, the airlines is what primarily saved the transports there, since they've been getting killed. They had a turnaround day on Friday. They had a nice reversals there. Pretty much across the board. And look at the rails. Yeah, the rails held up there a little bit at that prior low, but you can see here, the weekly support has been violated on two two levels, two higher low levels, swing lows. So that's, weekly trend turning down here. Clearly damage is being done across these markets, and maybe tomorrow I'll show you a chart of the amount of stocks that are still trading above their 200-day moving average. You'd be surprised of the damage that's been done to this market internally. When you look at the spiders, the S&P 500, which is still in an uptrend on the weekly chart, and this choppy consolidation well above the 200, and you look at a chart of those stocks trading still above the 200, and big move to the downside already. So a lot of damage being done there. Let's take a look at the financials, and here we go. They had been showing some strength prior, and they just everything is correcting here across the board. And we're coming into September, it's usually the worst month of the year. Some say it's August, September. I mean, there's been plenty of good months of August in the past history, and September tends to be the worser month that leads into the October month that's known for the worst, mostly crashes and so on. But none of that seems to be in the cards here at this time. So we'll see what September brings. I'm, personally would love to see a bit of a more of a correction, setting up some stocks for bigger gains later in the year. Which historically is that's what happens. As prices correct into September and October, it sets up, the end of year rally into the beginning of the following year, which is unbelievable to think that we're talking about, that at this time, the end of the year and the new year, but that's where they're going, right? All right, so, we see if Apple, which was in our weekly options trader, those options expired worthless by staying down below this level, exactly what we wanted. And our SPY trade, we'll see where that goes as far as where things might end up at the end of the day today, since, they're up here pre-market, and I'll go back to the futures, but, not taking out any resistance as of yet. This could open up shortly and roll right back over again. So we'll see what happens. It's it's the end of the summer. It's day to day, lower volume, and this might just peter out into the end of the week and the end of the month. And so we'll see, and we'll update tomorrow. Have a great trading.